Hi James, first of all let me say it's a real honor to be here with you. Talking to you, it's like a dream that comes true, so thank you for this great opportunity. I can't believe it. My question is there any movie that maybe you watched as a kid that made you think I want to dedicate my life to cinema and be one of the greatest directors of all times? Thank you.
Well, first of all, don't ever put that kind of barrier in front of yourself. No, look, the Ray Harryhausen films, which are quite quaint today, I think were huge. In my formative years, Mysterious Island, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, these films that brought creatures to life. I mean, all we're doing right now is a much more technological version of what he was doing back then. The movie that got me off my butt to actually start to try to make films was actually 2001, A Space Odyssey. I mean, everybody knows.
I love that movie too.
Yeah. Right. So there it was about, okay, how did they do that? I now need to know. I was at a point in my life, I was 14, 15 years old. It's like, I need to know how that was done, because that was magic. That was pure magic, and it ripped images out of my mind that I had imagined for myself when I was reading Arthur Clarke or Robert Heinlein or any of these authors, and put it up there at such a level of detail. I was dumbfounded. I said, all right, okay, I need to find out how this was done. And fortunately, that was a well-documented film in terms of what was available to the public. There was a book this thick on how it was made. And so it was the right information came along at the right time that the question was forming in my mind. Now I look at the movie very differently, as a filmmaker now in terms of my style and what I choose to say. I find it very cold, very dispassionate. There are a lot of things I don't like about the movie, but that stark vision, that expansiveness, that beauty that Kubrick created is timeless. It'll still be what it is 1,000 years from now, And that was the one, and then the next one was Star Wars after that, because once again I felt that imagery was getting pulled out of. I'm not trying to take any credit for Star Wars. Star Wars is genius, but I was seeing things like that in my mind, and I wasn't getting that feedback from the art, from the cinema that was out there. And then I saw Star Wars, and my brain exploded. I said, all right, if this can be the most successful movie in the world, maybe I can put my imagination to work and create something like that, maybe something much, much smaller. But I think you can see that my first reaction to Star Wars was Xenogenesis. And if you look at those drawings, they're quite ambitious. So I think Star Wars gave me the permission to dream big, to see that it was actually possible to put these amazing images up on a screen. I didn't know how to do it yet, but I was damn sure going to find out.
So dream big. That's there is a question. Guess there, yeah. If you raise your hand, yeah. See? And then we go here and then there, yeah. Well, there are a lot of...
Vado in italiano, buonasera.
Buonasera.
È un piacere averla qui, cioè averla a Wellington, però comunque in collegamento.
It's a pleasure to have you in here, Wellington.
Sì, cioè qui però lei sta a Wellington, quindi...
The question.
Sì, allora all'inizio abbiamo parlato di due cose che mi hanno molto colpito, no? Che sono il tempo che lei concede a se stesso, che mi sembra una cosa speciale, no? Tra un film e l'altro, il tempo che deve essere concesso a lei per elaborare le sue visioni e alla tecnologia per permetterle di seguirle, le sue visioni. E poi abbiamo parlato, e che mi sembra una cosa speciale, e poi abbiamo parlato anche di alcune delle sue ispirazioni, chiaramente la fantascienza e anche i fumetti di supereroi, i fumetti Marvel. Quello che vorrei genuinamente chiederle è un suo parere su appunto quella che è l'industria dei film di supereroi oggi, che credo abbia un peso ormai molto molto importante nell'industria cinematografica, da parte di un regista come lei che anche questo è speciale, riesce a lavorare mantenendo una visione molto personale, molto autoriale, seppur con dei budget importanti e a fronte di incassi ancora più importanti. Quindi una persona, cioè un regista come lei che sia un autore, però che lavora comunque.
Grazie.
Probably not that different, you know. I was a fan, more so of the Marvel universe than of the DC universe when I was growing up. I wasn't as enamored of Batman and Superman as I was of Spider-Man, let's say, or the Hulk. People that had kind of a deeper problem and felt like outsiders. I felt like an outsider myself. This was the 60s. We were very, you know, anti-establishment at the time. And so, you know, these kind of gung-ho patriotic superheroes weren't as interesting to me. Today I look at it, obviously it's a huge industry. This is our new pantheon, our new mythology, the gods. And like the Greek gods, they have the same kind of foibles and flaws that we have. They're very human, but they're godlike in their power. Where I question it is how much should we be entertained by people that can go through a wall or fly at the speed of light or whatever it is? I think the Marvel and DC universes in movies struggle with how do we humanize these people so that as an audience we care about them. And I see a drift toward a kind of a cutesiness. There's a lot of humor, there's a lot of sarcasm, that sort of thing. I don't think you're meant to feel these movies deeply, like really care about whether that person lives or dies or whether that relationship succeeds or is ripped apart. I find it to be, for myself, a little bit surface. It's beautiful. I can care in the moment, but it's hard to care. It's hard to care deeply. And I think, kind of what I'm striving to do, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily doing it better than they are, but what I'm striving to do is to try to humanize the characters in a way where I actually care about the outcome. I actually care if somebody gets hurt or somebody dies or somebody's, in a place of deep anxiety, And I actually think that that's where the comic book cinematic universes need to evolve more so than they are. I think they've gone through the phase of the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Thunderbolts and all that stuff, which is all, there's got a lot of humor in it, but the humor is distancing. It takes you out of a direct, visceral response. I've always worn my heart on my sleeve as a filmmaker. Guillermo del Toro says, he calls me Jaimito, Little Jim. He says, Jaimito, you have no irony. You have no irony. It's like, yes, thank you. That's quite a compliment. Thank you. I'm trying to be very earnest here. And I think it's difficult. You can get mocked if you're too earnest. But I think there is a level that you can reach in the audience's reaction to a film where they're feeling something, they're crying. I don't cry in Marvel movies. Maybe tiny bit in Guardians of the Galaxy with the two sisters, All I Want Is My Sister. It's like every once in a while they'll hit a moment that touches a nerve for me. But I'm not here to diss comics movies or the cinematic universe of comics. I love them. I go to see them all, because I was a big fan back in my teens, especially Spider-Man. He is my main guy.
There is one Spider-Man in the exhibition, but we'll talk about that another time. Thank you. Yes.